Ladies and gentlemen, start your engine!
Hello and welcome to the Honda Racing Simulator Championship. We're here for the third race of the season at the Silverstone circuit in the United Kingdom. We're here for the full GT layout as well, and soon we'll be getting underway with the Championship, and then later in about an hour's time we will bring to you the Pro Championship. Now, what is this? This is pretty much the best Indonesian sim racers that there are who have qualified for this event, and then we have the top 30 went into the Pro Championship, and then the second 30 went into the Championship, which is what we have here. The AMs have a 20-minute race, while the Pros have a longer 40-minute race. And I'm Cameron Roger. To bring you through this with me is Felix van Delft.
Yeah, Cameron, I'm looking forward to today. Of course, Silverstone is one of the iconic tracks. I'm sure these drivers will be very familiar with this track as well. So I hope to see the gaps to be even closer, especially in qualifying, the gaps to be even closer than they were in the last two races, when they were already really close at the top last times that we raced here in Malaysia and in Matsusaka.
And we saw some really, really good racing in those two. And we still got 4 races left this season. So after today, we have 3 more from Brazil, the Netherlands and Portugal as well, before we finish in about a month's time at the end of August. But what is the situation in the Championship? Well, we have Alphen Dani leading the way from Ada Saputra and Herdamo, but also not far behind them is Saputra and Loho as well. So there's all the top 5 names to look out for. But we'd also like to thank HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor for bringing this wonderful event to these Indonesian drivers, bringing them some proper high-level racing. But they're not just fighting for their pride, they're also fighting for prizes in the amateur class. The winner of the overall championship gets 5 million rupees, second place gets 4 million, third is 3 million, fourth is 2 million, and then 1 million for the 5th place in the overall standings as well. So plenty of prizes, and thank you to those guys for getting involved and bringing this to these drivers.
Definitely. Let's jump into the qualifying session, because I think these drivers are starting to set their first lap times now.
Yes, quite a long track again. So it's going to be over 2 minutes for these qualifying times. And it's quite interesting how it's worked out with Matsusaka, Malaysia, and also Silverstone being fairly similar within a couple of seconds of each other with the lap times. So let's see what happens. So we have here Devanugraha coming around Luffield out onto the old start-finish straight. This is not where we'll be taking the start. We'll be taking it at the new location on the other side of the track, where you're coming up to such a fast corner. Copse corner. Wonder what gear he's going to take this in. How much confidence does he have coming into this? Obviously, being a front-wheel drive car makes corners like this so much more difficult. And now is coming to some of the best corners in the world. Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Left, right, all the way through, trying to take this as quick as you can without the rear end stepping out. And then getting towards the final sector, where, to be honest, by this point in the track, you only really have 2 corners left to go. You've got Stowe Corner and then the final chicane. And as you can see, he's already setting purple times, as obviously there isn't really any times on the board at the moment. But it's certainly a tricky track for these cars indeed. And Devanugraha actually came second in the first race of the season, but then he had a nightmare last time out, which is why he's dropped down to 6th place in the championship. So hopefully, bit of a slide into this final chicane, but hopefully he can have a bit of a better result here in Silverstone.
Yeah, coming through the final quarter now, flat out through here, making the car turn, and his time on the board will be a 2 minutes 7.684, just in second place now, as Raditya Hendarmo goes a bit quicker than that on his first lap.
Yeah, Herdamo is only 18 thousandths of a second quicker on that provisional pole position. at the moment. As always, Shaquille just goes there by almost 0.3 of a second, but actually he's just been outdone now by Adisaputra, who goes another 0.4 ahead. Wow, we're already into the 2-minute 6s, as that is a brilliant time. So we're already looking at 0.4 of a second for the provisional pole at the moment.
Indeed, looking very fast at the moment. Of course, there's still just under 10 minutes to go, so I'm expecting most of these drivers to be able to do 2 or 3 laps, 3 more laps to get their qualifying as good as they can possibly do. As we see Moko Dompit making a bit of a mistake coming into the chicane there, the final chicane, club corner, onto the start-finish straight now. And I don't think this is going to be a very good lap for Moko Dompit. And up to 17th. Still some space for improvement for him, though.
Yeah, he's going to be struggling a bit today because he has a 20-place grid penalty after receiving, obviously, a penalty last time out in Malaysia. So he's probably going to be starting from the back of the field today. As we're now looking at Loho, who is coming around for his actually no, he hasn't set a lap time. This is his first lap time that he's set. Now coming out onto the Wellington straight, working away all up into 6th gear before breaking into a really tricky corner. This Brooklands corner, ever since it was changed back in 2010, is so difficult because it gets tighter and tighter as you come round, but then you don't want to take too much speed as you need to get a good line coming around Luffield as well. There's got to be very on the ball. He's currently doing a very good first sector according to this. It says he's purple in that first sector, so he's looking pretty good. Obviously won that first race of the season with a final corner overtake on Devani Graha as well, so he definitely knows what he's doing. But just like Devani Graha, he struggled quite a bit back in Malaysia, and that is why he's a bit further down the championship in 5th place at the moment, getting 0 points last time out. And now he's working his way through. Beckett's out through Chapel Corner, and when you get to this point in the lap, you've just got to hope that you've done a good line, and he's doing pretty decent in that middle sector as well. So this looks like he's going to be jumping up. Obviously not set a time yet, so we don't have too much reference to go off, but hopefully he can get himself well up into the top 10. As with only being a 6-race championship, every single point counts.
Definitely, you can see that car being so difficult to drive for these drivers. It's very light on the rear, but then also understeer gets into the tires when you are under power, like in these situations. Now coming out of the final corner, Rio Low. Let's see what he's able to do. 2 minutes 7.6, so up to 3rd he goes now.
Not bad at all in terms of position, but he is over 6/10 off Adisaputra at the front there. That is quite remarkable. His Hadamo's looking good in that first sector at the moment. I'll see what he can do, currently in 4th position. But this is really the first track that's been quite difficult because Matsusaka, they had about 1 month driving that, including the test race as well, including all the qualification laps that they had to do. Then last week we had Malaysia, where they had 2 weeks of practice, but this Silverstone was only 1 week after Malaysia, so they only had access to the track 1 week ago. Obviously they could have done testing privately as well, but obviously they've been focused on Malaysia, so they've only had 1 week to learn the track, as Hadamo goes a bit slower in that middle sector. But that's going to make it a little bit more tricky for these drivers to get up to speed, and you do wonder maybe some drivers couldn't put in quite enough practice to be at the absolute top. But we'll have to see how that works out for some of these guys. It's just interesting that Adisaputra has such a big gap at the front, as it has been pretty close in the top 5 in both categories so far this season.
Yes, indeed. And Dharma now coming out of the final corner. He'll be setting a lap time, but I don't think it's going to be too great. You can already see that 2nd sector. He lost quite a lot of time there. Gained a bit back in this final sector, but not too much. And he's going to have to accept 4th for now. Still 5 minutes to go in the session, of course. As Adisaputra is on a good lap so far.
Yeah, look at that. Purples all around in the first 2 sectors. And can he get himself even further ahead in the provisional pole position? We've got just over 5 minutes to go, so they'll have enough time to do at least 1 more lap. Well, firstly, it'd be good to get that lap time on the board now if he can do a good final sector. Coming to the line, what is he going to do? He's going to do a 6.6 and goes even further, almost 8 tenths now to second place Shaquille. 1 second to Loho in third place. That is an incredible time by Adisaputra.
It is indeed. So all the pressure is now on Shaquille, Loho and Darmo that are right behind Adisaputra at this moment in time. They have a big gap to overcome though. Kodumpit is also on a lap right now. He's in 22nd. We saw him do his lap earlier where he had a bit of a mistake in that final section of the track. Let's see if he can get a better lap in this time around. Coming through Maggots, Beckett and Chapel now. Beautifully flowing section of this Silverstone GT layout. Onto the back straight, the hanger straight. Second sector, not too great either compared to the leader. You can see it almost 1.3 seconds off, but he's still on a personal improvement. As you can see, the green sector, so he might be able to move up into the top 15 if he can finish this lap nice and cleanly. Of course, this is where he had the big mistake last time around and also struggling under the brakes. You can see them red hot glowing. Now out of the final corner, what is it going to be for him? Up to 19th for now for Mokodompit.
And this battle for third place is heating up. Arya Senna just jumped all the way up into third place, but just behind him, you've got Loho, Hadamo, Saputra, Devanugraha, Andika, Chandra. All of them are so close to each other. All those drivers I just mentioned are all within about 0.2 of a second between third and 9th place. So that is some really close times, and all of the gaps between them are only a few thousandths of a second, which means if any of these guys just make the tiniest improvement, they could even make up about 3 or 4 positions. So it's still not over, as they're now going to be coming around for what I guess would be their final attempt. And then we can see who is going to be getting up there at the start of this race. Obviously, it's a 20-minute race, so it's not too long to try and find your position and where you're going to come out. It is a proper sprint race. You just need to get yourself in a good quality position and then try and hold on the best you can. But now we have Shahab coming towards the final chicane, 10th place at the moment on a couple of personal bests, as you can see on the bottom right with the green colours. And now coming out of the final corner, where is he going to put himself? 10th place at the moment on the personal best. Where is he going to jump up to? He's going to go to 8th place there on a 7.699.
Not a bad position for him. Alfandani purple in the first sector, and then the second sector he loses quite a bit of time. Let's see if he can gain back some in this final sector, but down here, pretty much from 11th up to 4th, it's only 0.2 between the drivers, so even a very small improvement will give you almost 4 or 5 positions extra on the starting grid. So Danny coming out of the final corner to set his final qualifying lap. Let's see what he will be able to do here. Across the line, up to 2nd even. Often Danny really going up the leaderboard there.
As Devanugraha across the line at the same time goes up into 3rd place, still over half a second away from Adisaputra, who's on another purple sector. Look at that, 0.3 up in the first sector. This could be a huge lap from Rian as he comes through Cop's corner now. Sliding a little bit, try to keep it within track limits. There are obviously the cut detection within the game activated, which means if you do go past the curb with all 4 wheels, you will generally get your lap time invalidated. But he is now coming through Beckett's out through Chapel onto the back straight, and then we will get the second sector split. Where is he going to put himself? Another purple middle sector. This is going to be a huge time. He's going to be well down into the low 2-minute 6s as he comes up, braking into Stowe corner, trying to keep the car nice and balanced. Looking really nice there actually, and he is currently 2nd in the championship. He won the last race, and if he does a good race today, he could potentially be leading the championship But what can he do out of this final corner? Looks fairly good. And even if he doesn't quite improve, he's improved massively in the first 2 sectors. What is he going to do out of the corner? A 6.1, and he's going to get pole position by almost 1 second, 9/10 of a second to Alf and Danny in second place. That is a huge lap from Adisaputra.
Yeah, it's not quite done yet, of course. Shaquille, Senna, Loho, all still on a lap. They are looking to improve on their own times, but I think that gap to Adisaputra is just a little bit too big for them to overcome it fully. Shaquille, about half a second behind him after the first 2 sectors. So he might be able to move into that gap between Adisaputra and Danny at the moment. But this final corner is going to be deciding for him.
Not a bad exit out of that final corner. Remember, Shaquille had a bit of a messy Matsusaka after looking pretty quick, but what can he do today? Jumps up to second place, gets within 9/10 of a second to Adisaputra on a 7.0. Now Senna coming around Doe corner into the final chicane on a couple of personal bests. But what could he do to himself coming into this final chicane as well? He get a nice exit, smoking the tyres just a little bit, but it looked pretty stable. Didn't hit the anti-cuts and now out of the final corner. Where does he put himself with his final laps? Goes up to 4th place despite being a bit slower in that final sector. Now Loho, and I don't think they're improved on his lap either. So I believe last person out on track is Mokadompit. Where is he going to put himself? 22nd, but he will be last with his grid penalty. But today that is Adisaputra, who is on the pole position here in Silverstone by over 8/10 of a second.
Yeah, what a qualifying session there by Rian Adisaputra, putting himself on that pole position here in the amateur series by, well, 8.6 of a second. So that's a great achievement. Shaquille and Danny, they're gonna have to try and keep up with him in the race, but I think it's gonna be difficult for them because the pace from Adisaputra is just looking too strong at the moment.
Yeah, that is quite something to be that far ahead, considering how close the qualifying sessions have been so far in the opening 2 races, both in the AM and Pro category. But and even just behind, you can see how close it is between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place. So yeah, we're going to see what that is going to happen. But while drivers have a quick warm-up, we will take a quick message from our sponsors.
The power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. This is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row. New Honda Civic Turbo.
And the 3rd race of the Honda Racing Simulator Championship is about to get underway. The first race of the day for the amateur class. 20 minutes around the Silverstone GT layout in the United Kingdom. And Felix, I think this is going to be a very good race, but certainly Adisaputra was looking very quick. But having got that win last week in Malaysia, he's obviously going to be feeling quite confident.
I think he will be. Definitely after that qualifying session. Where he showed himself to be 8/10 a lap quicker. Of course, that's in qualifying mode, low fuel in the car. It's going to be a bit different in the race. Cars are going to have to be filled up for at least 20 minutes, or at least 20 minutes worth of fuel. So it's going to be a bit more difficult to drive, I think, in general. But he's shown that he's got the pace in qualifying, and let's see if he's got the pace in the race today as well.
Yeah, it's very good last time out, but he didn't have the best first race of the season, which means the championship looks a little bit like this. We've got Alpha and Danny leading the way with 36 points, followed by Adisaputra on 29. So that's a 7-point gap between them. So if they finish 1 and 2, Adisaputra won't be able to take the lead, as it is 25 points for a win and 20 for second place. And we have Herdamo in third place, followed by Saputra, Loho, Devani Graha and Eric Chandra, all very close together. So they're sort of the main guys to look out for, but the points go all the way down to 15. So there's quite a lot on the table, and you just have to keep on fighting and see if you can get towards the end of the race and maybe get yourself some points. But yeah, certainly looking good for Adisaputra, and this race marks the halfway in the championship. Obviously it's round 3 of 6. So after this race, we'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to be challenging in the second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, the rest of the season is a bit different tracks, perhaps a bit less known. Zandvoort, I'm guessing, because it's a new layout, it's a bit different for most of these drivers. Of course, we're gonna have to wait and see when we get there, but. It's definitely not all done for if you're not leading the championship after today.
Certainly not. I mean, we saw how quickly things can change with Loho and Devani Graha, first and second in the first race, and then 0 points for both of them last time out. And that's just how quickly things can change. And now they are both 16 points off the leader. So. Got to make sure you're getting all the points that you can when you can, and if that is today, then that is what you need to do. But it's only a 20-minute race. Obviously, I say only because the pro race later on will have a 40-minute race. So that is, it takes a little bit more endurance. Whereas in a 20-minute sprint race, you really have to make your positions quite quickly. We're only going to be looking at around a 10-lap race, so got to be quite on the ball. If you see an opportunity to make a position, then you really need to get that done.
Yeah, last final moments of this warm-up session now, so we're just waiting for the drivers to get kind of used to the higher fuel loads of the car, try and make sure they're mentally ready for the start of this race. Of course, you need to have that mindset of, you have to change the mindset from qualifying, where you have to really push all the way down the entire lap, where you now have to be a bit more careful during the race. Of course, you don't want to hit other people, you want to get the lap time, but you also don't want to waste your tires too much, because there is tire wear. Of course, it's only a 20-minute race. It's going to be more of a thing in the pro race later on, of course, but if you wear your tires too much, you're going to lose pace at the end of the race, and perhaps somebody will be able to overtake you because they did save their tires.
Yeah, that is quite important, because we have seen a drop off of about 2 to 3 seconds in the first two races of the championship. So if you can keep your tires just a little bit better in the last few laps, you're certainly going to be a little bit quicker. And as we've seen already in the 4 races that we've had so far, quite a lot of them have come down to last lap overtakes. So that is certainly where you're going to be making up your positions, and the drivers, that will be something that they'll be looking out for.
Indeed, of course, yeah, main overtaking spots here on Silverstone. I would say into the final corner chicane is one of the most notable, of course, turn 2. So in the village section, you would have an opportunity, and also in Brooklands, of course. Next to that, I don't see anybody trying an overtake. Well, maybe somebody's going to try it in Cops or around Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, but that's going to be a very risky move if somebody tries it.
Yeah, there's a couple of places where you might feel like you can make the overtake, because Silverstone's quite a wide, quite a flowing track. You can often get sort of side by side, but the actual racing line in a lot of these corners, because they are fast corners, is really only one line. So if you go side by side, you're taking a big risk, and we have seen a couple of crashes so far, but hopefully everyone keeps it nice and careful. Obviously, with this track being quite a modern track, it's just, in fact, it just recently had an update from Studio 397, and obviously it has all this this runoff and places like that. So hopefully drivers can avoid some big accidents if they need to. But we're just about to go to the grid before we will see obviously their formation lap, and then we will be able to start the race. But we're just waiting, or we were just waiting for a couple of guys to join back in the server. And once they are, we can go to the formation lap for this 20-minute amateur class race. And they've given us some really good racing so far in the opening couple of races, and also the test race that we broadcasted as well. Hopefully that is a similar thing here at Silverstone.
As we move to the race session now, you can hear the pit lane shouter shouting out that we're getting ready to race here. So let's have a look at who or what happened in this qualifying session before we get into this formation lap. So Aditya Putra will be starting from pole position. An amazing qualifying session from him. Next to him will be Shaquille. Then behind them it is Alfon Danny and Arya Senna. Then next row we've got Raditya and Darmo and Adi Devanugraha. Then Rio Loho and Jason Siputra. And rounding up the top 10 we've got Alwi Shabab and Mada Andika.
And we do have a full grid of 30 drivers today. So looking down the next couple of pages, we've got Eric Chandra in 11th, followed by Enrico Chaser, and then Eddie Satya in 13th, Septian Suraho in 14th, Richard Matthew in 15th, Marth Don DeCambe in 16th, Adi Virawan in 17th, we've got Kartubi in 18th, Prasansa in 19th, and Colin Louis in 20th place. We also have, as I said, 30 drivers today. So on the final few rows, we've got Argo Mokadompit, Muammar, Pranata Ahmad Afiat, Harry Nugroho Julius, and we got Deto Ari rounding out the field at the back.
So the formation lap on the way. Of course, Mokadompit has that penalty, so this qualifying result will result in basically back of the grid for Mokadompit, or sorry, Mokadompit, because of that grid penalty that he had. Now, the main focus of these drivers is making sure the tires are up to temperature, the brakes are up to temperature. Otherwise, when you arrive in turn 1, you're going to press that brake pedal and just going to go straight on because of the cold brakes and the tires having no grip because they are ice cold. And I think Aditya Putra is doing a good job so far.
Yeah, obviously the formation lap is under the control of the leading driver, so he can go obviously whatever speed that he wants within reason. And there's often a couple of drivers out there who like taking a bit of a slow formation lap. This one isn't actually too bad, but there are some drivers who like going really slow. But you do want to get especially your brakes. You can't really heat up the tyres because they will just cool down straight away. But the brakes coming into really turn 3 here at Silverstone is what you want to have all sorted by the time you get to your grid position. And then obviously focusing then, once you're in your grid position, focusing on your start. How are you going to do that? I believe there is a launch control in this car, however it's not the best, so most drivers will be doing a good old clutch start, or as some drivers do, they just keep it neutral, select their revs and then just slam it into first gear. So let's see who gets the best start as Aditya Putra comes around the final corner to line up for this third race of the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, brought to you by HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor. So thanks to those guys for putting on this event, as we have all 30 drivers in the AM category now lining up on the grid. And then we will be getting the start lights to start this 20-minute race. As you see right at the back, they are just lining up on the kink of the final corner. But let's see what they're going to do as we get the 5 red lights. Who is going to come out on top into turn number 1? And here come the lights now. Adesputra on pole position. What can he do? And it's lights out. We are now going into turn number 1, but it actually seems like second place Shaquille has got a pretty good start. Can he get down the inside into turn number 1? Or someone else? Yes, he has. Shaquille has taken the lead into turn number 1. Adesputra has gone down into second place. A couple of cars going off in the background. And it's looking all pretty good, actually. A bit further down, not too many big contacts so far just yet, as they're working their way through a couple of hairpins of turn 3 and 4. Always a car goes off there, out onto the exit of turn number 3. And we're now coming out onto the Wellington straight. Shaquille is still leading from Adesputra, but he's going to have to defend coming down into Brooklands as Adesputra looks down the inside. Danny is in 3rd place, Hadamo in 4th, Senna in 5th. And Loho in 6th place there. And that was actually a pretty nice start from all these drivers towards the front of the field, although we've got a spinner down the back there coming out of Brooklands. I think that was Colin Louis went off coming out of Brooklands now as we work our way around Lufford. But I think, Felix, that was a pretty nice start from most of these drivers.
Yep, quite clean, no major incidents. And of course, most notably, Shaquille able to take the lead from Adesputra and just a few meters, but now Adesputra is all over the back of Shaquille. Shaquille, of course, knows that the raw pace of Adesputra is really strong, so he will have to try and keep him behind him somehow. That's not going to be easy for him.
And Chase has had a big off coming through Mags and Beckers. He's going to lose a lot of time there. And how is the slipstream on this track? Can Adesputra get anywhere near Shaquille on this lap? Maybe not, but just behind him, Hadama's going to be thinking about a move as well. So a couple of battles to look out for in this top part of the race. Obviously, we've only had the first lap now, so we need to see where these drivers are going to be looking to make their overtakes. And it is such a fast-flowing track. A couple of corners are going to be a little bit difficult, but there's plenty of straights here. And a few good braking zones to try and make something work as we finish lap number 1. Shaquille is leading the way from Adesputra by only 0.3 of a second, and then 1 second back to Alfin Dani and Hadamo.
Yeah, of course, there's going to be battles all over the field. But for now, let's keep an eye on Adesputra, because I think he might be able to try something coming into Brooklands this time around if he has a good exit. Let's see here from the rear wing of Shaquille. Adesputra really starting to close in.
We've got a couple of guys battling just behind. We've got Putra trying to battle with Senna, who's now got Eric Chandra and Devani Graha all over the back of him for 8th position. As we now come around Luffield, this is a difficult place to go side by side. And this is Senna now having to be potentially pushed out a little bit. Oh, is someone slowed down there? There's Senna has slowed down massively. I do wonder if he is having some sort of issue, because he has dropped all the way down. So now Chandra is going to have to fight all on his own now, as Andik is trying to go round the outside of Devani Graha into Cop's corner. That is a ballsy move if he can make it work, as he now come up to Magus now. But who's going to come out on top? Devani Graha is going to keep that position, as Andika is now battling with Kartubi at the back. And they're now coming out onto the hangar straight, and Kartubi's got a really nice exit there. And they're going to be getting the slipstream all the way down this back straight. You see a couple of drivers in the slipstream moving out as well. This looks like one of the best overtaking opportunities down into Stoke Corner, but who's going to come out on top in this battle is going to be Kartubi leading the way as we come out of Stoke Corner for the end of lap number 2.
Yeah, little bit further in front, I think it's Shabab battling with Siputra there. Going into club corner. And Shabab coming out on top there, but battling all over the place so far. At Siputra not able to get past Shakil.
Yeah, his driver's pushing a lot already in the opening few laps. They've already had 2 laps of this race. We do predict it's going to be roughly 10 laps for this race. So we've already had a little bit. So as each lap goes by, obviously that makes it even harder for these guys to try and make their moves stick. Shakil is still leading the way at the front at this moment. As now got Danny and Hadamo trying to pull out of each other's slipstream for 3rd place as well. I don't think these battles are going to be over just yet. As they come their way now through Luffield corner. Such an important exit. But you don't break too much into Copse corner, then it's another flat out section up to Magus and Beckett. So Luffield is the real slow corner that you've got to get right if you want to start gaining time. But Shakil's actually starting to pull away just a tiny bit by a few extra car lengths. And it's interesting that Adesputra's race pace isn't quite so dominant as it was in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, dirty air and being behind the driver is always going to be a bit more difficult than when you're in front and leading. It could also be that Adesputra's just taking his time. Maybe he knows he's quicker than Shakil and he's just trying to force Shakil into a mistake, make it easier on himself, and otherwise go for a move a bit later on. Try to have the better tire wear, like we said in the warm-up session, as we see. And Darmo trying to go for a move up the inside of Stowe there, but not able to make the move stick. Perhaps here into Vale. Late braking. No, backs out of it.
Yeah, it seems so far that always Arya Senna has DNF on the race first. DNF off the race after 2 laps. He was the one who pulled off earlier, coming out of Luffield corner in that purple car. So it's unfortunate for him because he was looking like he was going to potentially get into the top 5 this race. Yeah, it looks like we've broken up into a couple of 2-way battles. We've got the lead 2-way battle, and for 3rd and 4th we got a 2-way battle as well. We look back a little bit to 5th and 6th as well. So a couple of battles are generated. So we've got 13 minutes left in this race. So someone is off there, hitting the unused DRS board.
Yeah, Lowe went off the track there.
Not what you want to do because he's now under attack from Siputra coming down into Brooklands. Can he get alongside? Not quite enough on the brakes. But he might make Loho think about it, which could always force a mistake. Sometimes one of the better ways of trying to make an overtake when it is a little bit more difficult is trying to go offline, trying to get in the mirrors of your opponent and try and see if you can force them into a mistake. That can get you a little run or a little bit of overspeed, as Loho now might be able to get the move on Shahab, although Shahab's just dropped him off a little bit there. Is now Siputra with the overspeed on both of them coming up into Magas. This is going to be a brave move if he can get it down the inside, because then that'll be the outside now for the second part, and he has made that stick around the outside. Awesome move there by Siputra on Rio Loho for 6th place.
Yeah, great bit of driving there. Respect from both sides. And Siputra, well done by him.
Got to be very brave going into that section of corners. And he's now got a Shab just ahead of him. All this battling has led Chandra and Suayo to get right up the back of them as well if they're not too careful. So we're looking at quite a good battle here for the middle part of the points, as they now work their way to complete the 4th lap of the race. So coming on to lap 5 with just over 11 minutes to go. Yeah, this battle is really heating up now for 5th and 6th place, as Chandra is all over the back of Loho. Always Loho goes really wide there into turn number 1, so Chandra might have the overspeed coming up through turn 2 into turn 3 if he can keep it there. Does he have it on the brakes into turn number 3? He's sort of half keeping this car there, and he's made that work on the brakes. Good job there from Chandra. So Loho loses 2 places in half a lap.
Yeah, Loho tried to make a switchback there, but now he's already gonna have to watch out for Suharyo behind, and Dave Halagraha not too far behind them as well. So Loho once again starting to fall down the order a little bit in the second half or the first half of this race.
Yeah, he dropped down quite a lot in Malaysia last week as well. Just needs to maybe be a little bit more calm. As I mentioned, every single point is going to count. And in terms of the championship, the top 5 in the championship are what gets the prize money. And currently he is in 5th place, so he does want to drop out of that in the championship. Otherwise, he will obviously not be getting any prize. But for now, he's in 8th place in this race. And Eric Chandra has had a bit of up and down. He was the fastest pre-qualifier, but he hasn't had the best races so far. But just like in Malaysia, he was looking pretty good until he got taken out there. And once again, he's making up some good positions here in Silverstone.
Alistair Putra is getting real close to Shaquille, by the way. Might be able to do something here in the chicane. Nope. Doesn't go for a move just yet, but he's very close.
That gap went up to almost 1 second about 1 lap ago now, so Addis Putra's caught up quite a lot on that previous lap. But yeah, look, he's all over the back of him now, coming onto the 6th lap of the race. Oh, Shaquille got a bit wide there. This could give the line that Addis Putra needs. He's going to now have the outside, which means he'll get a good exit and potentially be able to get a nice switchback here coming out onto the loop section. Although it gets onto the curb there. Can he get on the inside of Aintree Corner? That is not always where you see an overtake, but no, he just got cut off there by Shaquille. Good defending by Shaquille, because he was in a bit of a awkward situation there. And that is, that is one opportunity gone for Addis Putra. But he had to try it down the inside. But that kink is just a bit too difficult to go side by side, really. As we saw Christ Tiensen Julius. He has DNF'd a couple of laps ago with engine failure. And we also saw, I think it was Colin Louis actually came in for a pit stop. Or came in for maybe a drive-through penalty. Either way, he went through the pits and is now down to 17th place.
Right, Addis Putra. He's keeping close. It's definitely showing that I think he's got a bit of a pace advantage over Shaquille, but we saw Shaquille doing a very good defense in the beginning of this lap. But let's see if he can keep that up, because you can just see how much Addis Putra closes in through this Megas Beckett Scop section, and he's almost already on the rear wing of Shaquille coming out of Chapel here onto the hanger straight.
Yeah, look at this slipstream down the inside. Oh, he actually decided to back out that move on the inside. He's gone to the outside. Is Shaquille going to make the apex? I saw a bit of tyre smoke. Yes, he managed to, which was very good indeed. But Addis Putra is putting all this pressure on him, and maybe this is his race pace coming out now. Obviously, he's pretty much been stuck behind Shaquille since the start of the race because he's got such a poor launch off the grid. And look how close he is now coming through the final corner. This could be a move into turn 3 if he can stay nice and close and get a good line through turn 1 and 2. How is he going to do? Shaquille doesn't go too wide this time. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Addis Putra. But is he going to now send it down the inside like Eric Chandra did a couple of laps ago? Now he's going to swat back to the middle of the road. And now into turn 4, the hairpin. Once again, Shaquille's going into defence. So this is going to give a good exit. And Addis Putra did clunk the undercut this time. So he's going to get a good slipstream. And this could be a move down to the inside of Brooklyn's corner if he can get the slipstream just enough to get his nose in there on the inside. But no, he's going to switch back to the outside now. And once again, Shaquille is defending really well here coming into Brooklyn's. And Addis Putra needs to maybe do something a little bit more unconventional.
This is where he was really close in the last lap. Of course, he was able to close in throughout this section of the track. You can see Shaquille struggling with the rear of the car there. Has to go wide in cops. And once again, it allows the Saputra to close in. Stay with him, and if he can get the exit out of Chapel, might be able to make the move into Stowe again. He was really close last time around, but didn't decide to go for the move. The time is starting to run out as Saputra almost loses the car there. Maybe a bit of contact made with the rear of Shaquille as well, and that definitely lost him the gap. But now Alpha Danny and Hendarmo are also starting to close in behind.
We've also lost Eric Chandra on this lap as well, so was that third DNF for him. Yeah, Saputra just got a little bit too close there, coming through Beckett's. And unfortunately that is going to be him having to fight another day, but Danny is getting really close to them as well as they come out for another lap. This is going to be the end of lap 7, and we will get 3 more laps in this race with just under 5 minutes to go. And that was definitely a cut track on the last lap by Shaquille as well, so you've got to be careful not to do that too many times, as Saputra is almost touching the back of him again, so he's definitely got more pace. I do wonder if Shaquille has really harmed his tyres. Now look at the overspeed coming into turn 3. Can he make it on the brakes? But no, Shaquille once again very good on those brakes and his line with the defending. But now Danny is all over the back of Saputra, so this is going to be a difficult situation because Saputra is going to have to defend and attack at the same time as we now come out onto the Wellington Straight. Can we look at a move towards Brooklyn's corner? Or is he not going to be close enough? He might dive to the inside, but no, he's not going to do it on this lap. He's going to have to follow and try and get a good exit as Danny goes a little bit wide in the background, so that's going to drop him off a couple of car lengths. But Saputra's got so much more grip and speed at this moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he is challenging once again, but he needs to make sure he doesn't hit the back of Shaquille again, because that really loses you momentum. Now they're coming up to Cop's corner. Can he stay close enough? Shaquille went off here last time, but he's going to be Saputra actually going to go off and potentially get a cut track for himself. Once again, he's going to have to build his way up through Marcus Becks and Chapel again.
You can see that once again Shaquille struggling through here. That's going to allow Saputra to close in, but I think he's just a little bit too far ahead to try anything. You can see him closing in, but just a little bit too far. If you can stick with him through here, might be able to do something into the chicane. Then he'd have to go to the inside here. No. Good defense from Shaquille once again.
Oh, look how close he's getting though. Once again, Saputra is very close as we're coming on to the penultimate lap of the race. There is enough time for 2 more laps. So 2 more laps of opportunity for Saputra to try and get this lead that he lost at that start of the race. But Shaquille has done such a good job despite clearly being slower. Can Saputra? Oh, once again he just touches the back of Shaquille. I can't quite find a way to get his nose on the inside. Now Danny looks to the inside for maybe turn 4, but not quite close enough. He's definitely going to be in the slipstream. No, it is Saputra as we come out onto the Wellington Straight. Is the slipstream, I should say, going to be enough down into Brooklands? It might just be enough to make him think and go offline, but Shaquille very good on those brakes. As this is now a proper 3-way scrap for the win, with only just over a minute and a half left to go. Saputra needs to try and find a way through if he wants to get this lead. Shaquille doing such a good job at the moment for defending this position at the front. What can Saputra do now coming through Cop's corner? That's much better than last lap around. Stays a lot closer, doesn't go too wide. But can he stay close coming through these fast S's? Last time he really harmed himself by touching the back of Shaquille. He's not quite close enough to do that. But is he close enough? Maybe not quite. But I tell you what, Danny's got a good exit. Danny might be looking here for 2nd place. Coming up to Stowe Corner, he's getting the slipstream. He might just be able to get there before the braking zone as they come now down into Stowe Corner. Danny's going to dive on the brakes, but Adespucha around the outside and take extra speed, and is going to keep that second place for now. As with less than a minute to go, we are going to come to start the final lap of this race.
Yeah, Adespucha was on an attacking game, and now he's really got to think about also defending from Danny behind, and that's not going to make things easier here on this last lap. Shaquille under full pressure from both of these drivers ahead. Any slight mistake and he's going to lose the win here today.
He certainly does need to keep going. Shaquille's made a few mistakes and been able to defend from it. Adespucha not close enough in turn 3 this time, so he's got to work his line and hope that Danny doesn't dive him into turn number 4, which he doesn't. Oh, Danny actually got crossed up a bit there. Adespucha now on the inside of turn number 5. Can he make that work? No, but he's going to have the slipstream down into Brooklyn's corner. This is going to be such a good opportunity for him as the time runs to 0. So this is the final lap of the race. Adespucha now, he's going to have to do something a little bit more crazy than he's tried so far. Shaquille, can he make it down to the apex? Yes, he does. And that is one place that he has survived. But there's still a few more. Always Adespucha bumps him in Luffield once again. Shaquille doing such a good job here of defending. As we now come up to Copse Corner, final lap of the race. This is where Adespucha needs to stay so close and not lose any distance to try and get the slipstream up the back straight. But it seems like he's going to have to be really, really close to get a proper run with the slipstream. He's misjudged it a few times so far, but can he make this work? Oh, running a little bit wide there. Shaquille's on a decent line. Adespucha as well, diving it down the inside. That is not going to work. Contact is going to be made, and Danny now is going to have the opportunity to get potentially even a race win here as we work our way onto the Hanger Straight. Adespucha got a little bit impatient there. Dived it down the inside of Beckett, which is never going to happen. Is now under threat from Danny on the final lap, final sector now. Can Danny go around the outside to get this second place? These two are championship rivals. But Adespucha has survived that. Actually, no, he hasn't, because he's left the space for Danny. Danny's moved up into second place in the final sector. Can he keep it on the brakes? But Adespucha now on the outside, is going to have the inside for the second apex. This is amazing racing coming out of the final chicane. Who's going to get second place? Shaquille is going to take the victory on round 3, but who's going to get second? Is it Danny or is it Adespucha? It is Alf and Danny who takes second place. Just what a move in that final sector to get second place. Adespucha will be disappointed in that third place. Hadama gets 4th, Saputra in 5th, Shahab in 6th, Suayo in 7th, followed closely by Andika, Devanu Graha, Dondakambe. Sathya is in 11th, Kartubi in the pits on the final lap. Not under the pit limiter, I don't think either, so that might be looked at by the stewards. Richard Matthew gets 12th, Loho in 13th. Louis will get 14th after being in the pit lane, and the final point will go to Adi Viravan in 15th place. But wow, oh actually Kartubi, oh sorry, Louis, I mean, was actually been given a lap down, so Mokadompik gets the final point in 15th. But Felix, what a final lap that was. Danny getting up into second place and Shaquille just about holding on.
Yeah, absolute amazing final lap here. You can see the podium. Shaquille, yeah, he got away with it there, only just. But Danny, of course, taking full advantage of that contact that was made by the two drivers in front of him and able to get past Adespucha to take that second place. Amazing stuff. Great battling, and he finished only, I think, 0.04 of a second in front of him in the end.
What a close, what a close battle that was in the end. Great to see, and once again we see our last lap, last sector, even last corner overtake in the Honda Racing Simulator Championship. And that is only the first race. In a few moments' time, we will be getting to you with the Pro Class, which is obviously the top 30 sim racers in the whole of Indonesia. And they'll be going for a 40-minute race, or a slightly longer race for those guys for their third race of the season. But yeah, what a way to finish that championship, and good job for Shaquille there. But we will take a few-minute break, and then we will be back to bring you through the Pro Class. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
The power of dreams. power of dreams.
You're looking for a diamond in the rough, and I could be quite tough.
Honda Civic Hatchback RS. Sexiness intensified. Experience RS. A pleasure in every drive.
And welcome to the Pro class. So these are the fastest guys in Indonesia racing the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, brought to you by HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor. We are here for the third race of the season at Silverstone in the UK, and we now got the Pro guys. So they have a 40-minute race, but they're just going out for their qualifying now. And as we've mentioned before, this is obviously the same car. The only thing that the drivers really have to change is the setup or their driving, and they only had a week to practice for this race, so that is why we saw such a good race back in the Championship a few minutes ago, because it gets really sort of muddled up when you don't have much time to practice. But hopefully the Pro guys can give us a really good race as well. But these guys obviously fighting for some decent money. Thanks to the sponsors of the event. The winner of the Pro class in the championship gets 20 million rupees. Second place gets 10 million. Third gets 8. Fourth gets 2.5. And fifth gets 5.5. So that is some nice prizes for these guys to be battling. And Felix, these are some of the best drivers that we've seen in our Factor 2, let alone just Indonesia.
Yeah, we've seen these drivers battle quite a bit in the first two races, especially the two guys at the top, Siswoyo, Maulana. They've been relatively close to each other, and I'm sure they will give us a great bit of action here today. Once again, qualifying session is just about to start, and I think first drivers are starting their laps as well, as we see here. Jaka Siswoyo coming out of the final corner to start his first qualifying lap of the day.
Yes, so we got a similar format here, 15 minutes and a private track, which means each driver is on the track themselves. They don't see any other cars, they don't get affected by any other cars. That's just them to set their lap times. They'll probably get 3 hot laps in, as we've now seen Siswoyo come out onto the Wellington Straight. We expect these guys to be a little bit quicker. So pole, if I'm not mistaken, was a 6.1 in the AM category, so we've got to see if that is the way to go, if people can get well into the 2 minute 5 seconds. Have to see how that one goes. That's where it now comes out onto the old start-finish straight. And yeah, so on the practice server, Maulana did the fastest, which was a 5.7, a 2 minute 5.7, so that is the benchmark that we are looking for these drivers. Well, yeah, generally a little bit quicker than the AM category, as most drivers are completing their outlaps now. And the Pro Championship, how is that looking? Well, Siswoyo is leading the way by 4 points from Andika Rama Maulana. And then Ferris Stanley is not too far behind. However, it's then quite a big gap down to Taruna Rahmat and Ataya Kenzie. So the top 3 of Siswoyo, Maulana and Stanley have a decent gap at the top, and it's going to be a good 3-way fight from those guys. And they were the podium in the last 2 races as well, just in a slightly different order each race. So these are definitely the 3 best guys we've got here. And let's see what Siswoyo can do. Been a decent lap so far. Obviously it's purple sectors because no one has actually set a lap yet, but Kenzie goes to the top on a 6.4 with the first lap. Ardeneza with a 6.9. Where can Siswoyo put himself? Maulana gets into the 5s in a 5.7. What can Siswoyo do? A 5.8 and goes to second place, 1/10 off. But it is Maulana who's leading the way after the first lap, even though Siswoyo did a good few sectors there.
Indeed, close between those two already, but at the moment Maulana showing himself to be the quickest. Then a bit of a gap, almost or even more than half of a second to Fadili Rahmat. And Ataya Kenzie not too far behind that. It's pretty close as well, but of course it's still the first lap. Drivers will be able to do about 4 laps here today, I think, in qualifying.
Now seeing Angwin coming out of the final corner. What's he going to do? A 7.8 goes up into 10th place currently. And once again, we see a little bit of a gap. So Maulana is only about 1/10 and a half ahead of Siswoyo, but third place Rahmat is over 6/10 of a second off in third place at the moment. Which, yeah, it's quite interesting to see that the gaps are that big. But once again, behind, there's quite a few drivers in the mid 2 minute 6 second area. So if they can improve just a little bit, they will be able to move up. As we're now seeing Alif come up to the final chicane, 24th place currently. He had a pretty much a nightmare race back in Malaysia. What can he do in the car number 11 out onto the start finish straight to set a 2 minute 13.5, and that is unfortunately last place at the moment. As we now see Michael Christian, who I believe is one of the most unlucky drivers, because points go to 15th place, and in the first 2 races he's finished 16th. So he has no points to his name, but he has finished both races in 16th place. Currently in 25th position, coming up to Magus Begits and Chapel. Let's see how smooth he can take it through here. Gliding a little bit through that first apex. Fairly nice through the second, and in the third, tiny bit of understeer mid-corner, gets himself out onto the back straight. And then we'll get the second sector split time. And he is a little bit down on the fastest guys at the moment. Currently not set a lap time, as we're already halfway through the session. Now comes up to the final chicane. Car's always moving around under the brakes into these hard braking zones like that. Now out of the final corner, where is he going to put himself? How high can he get with his first lap time? Little dash to the line. Where is it going to be? He's going to jump up to 13th place there on an 8.3.
Ardianza, decent first sector for him. Roughly the same as most drivers in front of him. So he needs to find some time in the second and third sectors. Here coming to Kopp's corner. Then of course, this flowing section is going to be important. You want to make sure the car is stable but also responsive throughout this part of the track. Looks good through there. Let's see how his second sector time will turn out. Also not too bad. Looking to himself, if he can get a good final sector, up to top 5, I would say.
That would be pretty good for him. He can try and get there up into a good position. Or a bit too much curb there in the first apex. As he now comes out of the final corner. He's only got 1 point to his name so far this season. Last time out in Malaysia, DNF in the first race, but goes up to third. Nice lap there from Ardeneza.
Indeed, good lap. Jaka Siswoyo is on a improvement in the second sector. First sector wasn't so much of an improvement. So let's see how this final sector will be for him. Probably only one more attempt after this. Purple final sector. improves his time, but is not able to get closer to Malana.
And still have time for another lap. Sure, we're going to see some fast times come in as we're now seeing Kevin Angwin coming out Cop's corner, smoking the tyres as he pushes them right to the limit. Up into important sector 2 of this lap. Oh, sliding a lot through Magnussen. Beckett's all over the place. That is going to be him. Going back to the pit lane for another lap. As Fikri Azka coming now towards that same section of the track. Let's hope he can do it a little bit better. As we now work our way through. No, he's going to go for a big slide as well. That's going to be into the wall. Hard hit there. And he's going to be going back to the pit lane. Which is one fortunate benefit of sim racing compared to real life. When you do have an accident like that, you can actually go out and set another lap. Now Hidyat, third driver coming to this section of corners. Let's hope he can do it a little bit better. He's doing good in the first sector so far. Nice and smooth there through the first couple of apexes. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Slightly offline in the last one. But at least he is not in the wall. And now through the second sector split. Improving again. About just over a second off the pole position sectors at the moment. This could be him going up into the top 10. Getting nicely to the apex of Stowe corner. Can he get a decent exit? Not quite the best, but can he get the brake in now down into the final chicane? Getting as close as you want to these red anti-cuts, but without touching them. Looks like he's done so. Out the final corner, can he get himself into the top 10 for Hidyat? Goes up into 10th place exactly.
Indeed, so final laps are probably going to be coming in just a bit. Drivers that are on a lap now already technically can do another one straight after, but most of the drivers will be on an out lap now to do a last lap until the timer runs out. Of course, out lap is about 2 minutes, and then another lap is also 2 minutes. Drivers that have started the lap when the timer hits 0 are allowed to finish it, but once you cross the line, that is your qualifying session over.
Yeah, it's just about enough time to get a lap if you leave the pit lane now. However, there are a number of drivers, about almost all drivers already on the track, going out for their final laps. As now Haryanto come out the final corner, doing a couple of personal bests. Where can he put himself at the front? 13th place for Haryanto there.
Ardianza once again. Good first sector. Now this is where he needs to keep the car pointed in the right direction this time. It's a good job of it, but the question is it quick enough? Also, Sisboyo and Stanley in 2nd and 4th are both improving their personal best time. I think Ardianza is also looking to get a good lap time in here today. If he does a good final sector, at least that is. Through Stowe corner, bit of tire smoke coming off, pushing that car to the absolute limit.
Right on the limit of those brakes there, into the final chicane. Now out of club corner, where is he going to put himself? 6th place at the moment. Not too far off the pole position on the first couple of times. Where is he going to go? He's going to go up to 4th place. Not a bad result from him, but he will not have enough time. So with a 6.0, that will be him done for the qualifying session. So is Rakma in 3rd place. Ferris Stanley is down in 5th. He's on a lap. Taruna's in 6th. He's done. Farhan in 7th. He's also done. Kenzie in 8th as well. But the top couple of guys are still out, as we're seeing on screens as well. Coming out of the final corner, where can Yaka put himself in his fight against Maulana? He's going to go up into pole position with a purple final sector, but Maulana is on a purple first sector himself and only needs to improve by about 0.04 of a second, which he's already done in that first sector. So this could be pole position for Maulana. Been such a good battle between Soswayo and Maulana all season so far. And Ferris Stanley, third place in the championship, is down in 5th place. So this could be these two starting to pull away a little bit at the front of the championship as he's gained even more time in that second sector. This is going to be a huge lap from Maulana if he can make this third sector work. Stays nicely down on the apex. Fairly decent exit. He's just got this final braking zone to do before we see if he can get this pole position. Or hits the undercut potentially a little bit too much there. Might lose him just a tiny bit of time. Or is he going to go out of the final little kink up to the line? Is he going to get pole position? Yes, he is. Gets pole position, even though he went slightly slower in that third sector. But Maulana takes the pole position on the final lap by over 0.2 of a second from Soswayo. But that is not everyone who is done. Timo Iskander now 9th place. He's doing some personal bests as well.
Yeah, it's not too far off from the top 5, I would say. Especially second and third sectors, I think, are a bit down. So let's see if you can improve on those in this final lap. Coming out of Chapel there. At a second sector time, let's see. And indeed, that's a lot better than what he did last time around. Now he just needs to do that final sector and he might be able to put himself in the top 5 even. Tires smoking through Stowe. Just 2 more corners to go. Ooh, hard on the brakes. Almost losing the car there. They're going to lose in time though. Out of the final corner. And what's it going to be for Iskandar? Across the line in a 6.5. Too much time lost in that final sector. And not the big improvement there in the end then for him.
We've got 2 guys out on track. We've got Andri and Praboa, who are still on their laps. I believe these are still valid laps, but we'll see if they got in just in time.
Praboa did a 2-minute 11.3. Didn't improve from his 22nd position. Let's see what Andri is able to do. First sector, not an improvement for him. Now the second sector is then going to be important.
He's quite a bit slow in that first sector. You can see 1.5 seconds off, and his current time is only 1.9 seconds off, so he can only lose another 0.4 or so if he wants to be right up the front. Hasn't been this best middle sector either, so we'll see if he's actually going to improve with this final lap. No, he's even further down in that middle sector, so I think he is not going to be doing anything with the timing screens. So I believe that'll be him staying where he is, so that's pretty much the top 10 set, unless he do something crazy in this final sector. Coming to the final chicane now. Now on to start-finish straight. Can he do anything special in his final sector, or is he going to stay there in 10th place? All goes really wide there. And he's, not going to improve. So that is Andika Rama Maulana getting the pole position from Soswayo, followed by Rahmat Ardianza, Stanley Taruna, Farhan Kenzi, Iskander, and Mohammed Andri rounding out your top 10. But look at that gap, how quickly the times fall off. This top lot are such quick drivers, and I think this battle with Soswayo and Maulana is going to go down to the final lap, just like it did last week.
Definitely, especially the gap between 9th and 10th. It's almost 9/10 between that, so that's I think the biggest thing. I think we're going to see basically 2 trains forming, first to 9th and then 10th and behind that, and of course there's going to be some drivers dropping out, perhaps making some mistakes. But the main focus is going to be, of course, on the battle at the top, Andika Rama Maulana versus Soswayo, which is going to be, I think, an interesting fight once again here.
Certainly will be, and that's what we're here to find out. Obviously a 40-minute race, so quite a bit of time actually for these drivers to work their way out, but somehow we still often see battles on that final lap. There's probably going to be nearer a 20 lap race here, maybe 19 depending on the exact time, how quick the pace is, but yeah, it might be a 20 lap race for these guys. Plenty of time for them to make an overtake, but whilst the drivers go out for a bit of a warm-up, we'll take a quick message from our sponsor.
The power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. This is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row. New Honda Civic Turbo.
And we're here for the third race of the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, brought to you by HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor. We've already had the amateur class here today, and we are now here for the pro race, 40 minutes around Silverstone in the United Kingdom. And this race marks halfway in the championship, as we've only got 3 races left before we get to the final race on the 29th of August. So still plenty of action to go, but still not too much time for these drivers to work themselves out. After this race, we have 2 weeks before we go to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Then 1 week later we go to Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and then we finish on the 29th of August in Portugal. So the next 3 races are back to back to back, so not a lot of time for them to prepare. So this race could be important with where they get themselves in the championship. But how is the championship looking in the pro category? Well, Siswo is leading the way with 45 points ahead of Maulana on 41 points. Ferris Stanley is in third place with 36 points, before Arwin Taruna in 4th on 24. So there's a bit of a gap between Taruna and Stanley, so it's really down to this top 3 to see what they can do, and especially the battle between Maulana and Siswo has been going on since even the pre-season test race. Maulana struggled a little bit last week in Malaysia by getting pole position today. I'm sure he's going to be looking for a win, but Felix, I think we're looking for another really good battle between these guys here at Silverstone.
Yeah, definitely. Already in the amateur series earlier today we saw an amazing battle. Last lap, last sector, last corner. Once again, we've seen this throughout every race in the season so far. The last lap always gives off some amazing action, and well, pretty much the entire race does. But it always comes to a climax at the end of the race for some reason. So let's hope we'll get a bit of a show from the pro guys here today once again. And I think Rama, Maulana and Siswo are going to be the main suspects for that.
It certainly is. So 40-minute race, what are we going to expect? Well, as we've already seen previously this season, it doesn't look like drivers are going to opt to take a pit stop, so it's a straight fight for the 40 minutes, especially for the top guys there. I mean, some of these guys are driven in some of the best R-Factor 2 championships, so they know exactly what they're doing, and they're used to controlling their tyres, but they're going to have to try and make the overtake stick. As we saw in the AM race earlier, it is possible to defend and hold on to the lead, even if you're a little bit slower. So that could potentially come into benefit for someone. But we are probably going to see some pretty crazy overtakes in the last 5 minutes or so, as that's when it really comes down to the wire and you need to try and make those overtakes stick. So I think we're going to see another great race here for the Honda Racing Simulator Championship. And once again, thank you to HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor for organising this event. And it's good to see such big names in Indonesian sim racing in rFactor 2 all coming out to this event.
Definitely. We're just waiting for a few things, and then the drivers will start to form on the grid and get ready for their formation lap. After the formation lap, we are going to go racing for 40 minutes, like we said before. Of course, it is a timed race, so it's a bit of a question how many laps are going to be. We're guessing it's about 20 laps, but if the drivers for some reason are slower, it's going to be a lap less. If they are quicker, it's going to be a lap more. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that unfolds. As the drivers are now getting ready to move themselves onto the grid. And let's have a look how that grid looks like. So Andika Rama Malana once again quickest. And he will be starting on pole position with next to him we've Jaka Siswoyo. Then third and fourth Fadil Rahmat and Dafa Arianza. In the third row we've got Ferry Stanley and Arwin Taruna. Seventh and eighth to Tubagus Farhan and Ataya Kenzi. And then rounding off the top 10 Timo Iskandar and Muhammad Andri.
And on the second page, we move on to Nicholas Stephen in 11th place, followed by Hidyat, Faiz Ryan, Haryanto and Angwin rounding out the top 15. And we've got Arik, Segia, Christian Ahmad and Fikri Azka rounding out the top 20. Then on the final page, we have 26 drivers here for you for the third race of the championship. We've got Amaula in 21st, Prabowo in 22nd, Alif in 23rd, Setio in 24th, Varianto in 25th, and the last driver on the grid is Abdurrahman in the number 21. And now the drivers work their way around the track for their formation lap. And I'm interested to see how this battle is going to go on between these top few drivers. They've been having such good battle for most of the season, and these are some properly quick sim racers as well. And we obviously saw a massive overtake on the final lap of the race last week as well, so anything can happen even down to that very last lap. So I'm hoping that they're going to give us a nice spectacle here for the race marking halfway through the season.
Drivers making sure they are ready to start this race. Of course, you want to have your brakes warmed up when you arrive in turn 1. Relatively, I would say, quick formation lap. Some drivers like to do it slow. Some drivers like to speed it up a little bit more. Just get it done with. Of course, if you go a bit slower, you might be able to save just a little bit more fuel that you can then use in the race, but it doesn't really make a big difference here with these kind of cars, of course.
Yeah, I mean, tyre wear could be a factor, not necessarily in terms of making a pit stop, but with the pace drop off, you don't want to kill your tyres in a way that means they're 4 seconds a lap slower by the end of the race. If you can keep it to around 2 seconds by the end of the race, then that could be quite useful, and you would definitely have a lot of pace as you get towards the end of the race. But now they are lining up for the third race of the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, brought to you by HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor. But who is going to come out on top after 40 minutes of racing here for Silverstone? It's going to be a very interesting race to see how this one pans out. Some of the fastest drivers that there are in Indonesian sim racing all coming together for this championship. And
some issue with the overlay at the moment.
I'll try and sort out for the start of the race as the final driver gets into his place. And then the lights will come on. And they're coming on now to see who is going to lead into turn number 1 in the AM race. It was second place who got the best start. Can Siswo do the same? He might be side by side actually coming towards turn number 1, and then Maulana is just ahead, so he's got just enough space to defend. However, Rakma is trying to get up into third place. Back out of that one as Ardianza gets into third place. So Rakma having to now defend a little bit from Taruna, who's now getting side by side with him. Ferris Stanley's trying to get involved here, coming into turn 4 as well. There's going to be a bit of contact there. Ferris Stanley gets bumped from Taruna, and now Farhan is going to try and get around the outside of Aintree out onto the Wellington Straight. So Ferris Stanley could actually lose a position here as we come down the Wellington Straight for the first time, and I believe he has. So Ferris Stanley, not the best start from him as we will come into Brooklands for the first time. And Maulana's still leading the way from Siswo, and they've actually got a little bit of a gap from Ardianza already in third place. Rakamat down into fourth, a little bit further behind. There's a huge battles going on for the lower end of the points as the guys will try and work their way out into some sort of track position. And now let's see how they come through sector 2, as they do know this is a slightly longer race, so they don't have to do anything too silly on the first couple of laps, but this is where you set your positions. As we've seen, overtaking isn't always the easiest in this car. Someone has gone off there. Taruna has gone off massively. I do wonder if he's actually going to keep that place. Yes, he can. So Farhan might actually get a bit of overspeed now coming out onto the back straight. But it is Maulana leading the way as we get towards the end of lap 1.
Yeah, apologies, still have some issues with the overlay. For some reason it's not working. So we'll try to get that fixed as soon as possible. But in the meantime, of course, this race is still going on.
And these guys now coming towards the end of lap 1. It seems like they've all worked their way into a fairly comfortable positions at the moment. Currently, last place in the points is Fikri Sega. I believe this is his first race of the season, so he must have been allowed in as a reserve driver, because the maximum grid size is 30. So there are a couple of guys who have unfortunately pulled out of the competition, which has allowed a couple of other guys to get put in place. Now Taruna battling for 5th place with Farhan. Ferris Stanley trying to get involved as well. That's going to be awkward. There's going to be 3 cars all having a bit of contact there for 5th place. And now working their way out onto the Wellington Straight. Stanley's now under pressure from a tyre. Kenzie as well. This has not been a good start for third man in the championship, Ferris Stanley. Taruna is now battling with Farhan into turn number 6, and he has fortunately made that work. Stanley managed to hold on for 7th place as well. They're looking pretty good, but Maulana's got a 6/10 gap at the front as well, so that is looking fairly nicely for him. But as we know in the previous race, even if you lead all the way, you can still get overtaken towards the end. As Farhan now going a little bit wide there, coming out Cop's corner. He's to be careful not to do that too many times. If he goes far enough off the track, you will get a cut penalty, and if you do too many of them, you will get a drive-through penalty automatically by the simulation. And this top lot is starting to pull away just a little bit. As Iskander now for 9th place is defending from Faizaran into Stowe Corner. And this is for 9th place, so they're starting to drop off a little bit from the top 8 drivers who have started to pull away. But Iskander managed to defend there. However, Faizaran is all over the back of him, coming out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Might be able to look for an overtake actually as we get towards turn 3 and 4. Turn 1's not where you want to be doing the overtake. It's lining yourself up for a good overtake into turn 3. On the brakes, going to have to dive it down the inside, which he's looking to do. Ooh, just hits the back of him actually. Can Iskander save it? Yes, he can. Faizaran slightly misjudged that. As Stanley now has just got pushed out a tyre. Kenzie is going to get past him. Stanley down now to 8th position. A bit further up and now fires Ryan. It's on the back of Andrew. Actually, Andrew's just got overtaken by Ryan after that little issue he had coming into turn 4. And has now dropped down into 11th place. That battling has led the top 4 to get away a little bit. Arwen Taruna in 5th place has just dropped off by about a second and a half, followed by Farhan, Kenzie and Stanley. And Stanley is not going to be too happy with the start that he's had. He's dropped, I think, 3 positions, which is really not what you want to be doing, especially when he's fighting towards the front of the championship. And the battles are still going all the way down now. You can see these drivers all staying fairly close together. As now Farhan is trying to defend from Kenzie coming into the final chicane. As Stanley is not too far behind them either. He's going to have to struggle quite a bit to defend from these guys, I think, as they're so close to each other as we come out already to complete the 3rd lap of the race. Now Stanley looking down the inside of Kenzie into turn number 4. Kenzie giving him a nice bit of space there. Can Stanley there now make it on the outside of turn 4, sorry, it was turn 3 before, now they're into turn 4, and Stanley's made that work. That's 1 position back, however that has just meant they've lost the slipstream from Farhan. As now into Brooklyn's fire, makes a bit of a mistake, so this is going to let Stanley catch back up just a little bit. That might not be all over for Stanley just yet. Top 4 have got a bit of a gap to themselves, as Taruna is now almost 2 seconds behind Rakamat, so the top 4 definitely got a bit of pace for themselves. And Ardianz is doing well in 3rd place because, while he hasn't had the best start to the season, he had a DNF in race 1 and only got 15th place last time in Malaysia. He really needs to get his season underway, as Edo is our first retirement of the race on lap number 4. We're now dropping off Maulana a bit at the front as well, so gaps starting to work themselves out as we get towards the end of lap number 4. Stanley getting close to Farhan as well, now coming into Stowe Corner. Oh, now Stanley trying to get past in the final chicane. Can he make that work on the 2nd apex? Yes, he can. Now he's got to defend through turn 1 and 2. And it seems like he's made that one work. As he gets now on the brakes into turn 3. Yeah, he's made that work. So 2 places in 1 lap. He's got 2 seconds to catch up to Arwen Taruna, who's got another 2 seconds to Rakamat. So yeah, these top lot are starting to really show their pace. But Stanley does need to catch up if he wants to be getting some decent points here. We've already had almost 10 minutes of this race. The guys obviously trying to work their way now through the 2nd sector. Malan is over a second in the lead now. So once again, he's really showing his pace. He did this in the first race of the season at Matsusaka. Once he got in the lead, he just pulled away as we lose Prabowo as well. Now second DNF, so 25 drivers left in this race. Yeah, Maulana pulled away in Japan, but last week in Malaysia he wasn't able to really pull away and actually got overtaken at the end of the race. So I wonder what it's going to be today, whether he's going to have the pace all the way through, whether this is where he's going to be able to keep up. This is where he's actually caught up by almost 0.4 of a second actually in this middle sector. So now see Haryanto in the background with no rear wing. You can see him off in the background there. He's been spun around and will have to come in for some damage repairs, as that will not be a good car to drive with that damage. Bigri Sega in 11th place. He was in 15th, but he's now moved his way up on his, well, I believe it is still his debut. As we're now working our way onto the soft straight to complete lap number 5. Kenzie now on the back of Farhan, and Stanley has been able to pull away from Farhan, so I believe Stanley has decent pace here and will be able to catch up to Taruna. He already caught up by over half a second on that last lap. Alright, so I think you're going to lose pictures just for a little bit, but I will keep going with the commentary to let you know what is going on. There, we'll just trying to sort that overlay for you. So the situation is 11 minutes down in this race. Maulana is leading the way by over a second to Suzuo. Third place is Ardianza, followed by Rakhmat. Those four all following each other. Just about 3 seconds covering those top 4 drivers. Then a little bit further behind we got Taruna and Stanley. Stanley really starting to catch up now after a bit of a bad start. But he's certainly showing the pace that he does have. And then just behind them, Farhan and Kenzie are still battling there before the field starts to spread out a little bit. We have just lost Haryanto, decided not to get those damage repairs. And also Ferianto, injured Ferianto as well. So 2 DNF set, which means 23 drivers left in the race. Now Kenzie getting towards the back of Farhan as we come out onto the hangar straight. We wonder if he's going to be able to get the slipstream. Slipstream is fairly powerful, but it's not super easy to make the overtake. You do have to use a bit of driving skill as well. Now Suzuo has dropped off about 0.6 of a second in the last lap, so he's really starting to drop off now a little bit from Maulana, who's looking pretty comfortable. 1.6 seconds in the lead now. As Stanley has now caught Taruna for 5th place, and they're going to be battling on this lap. We're on to lap 7 of the race already. And Stanley, I think, is going to be trying to make an overtake here on Taruna. And I think you have the pictures back now as Stanley is getting on the back of Taruna, coming up to Brooklyn's corner. But he's not quite close enough, although Taruna goes really wide actually. It's Stanley now. He's going to have to go around the outside of Luffield. That is not always the best place to make an overtake, because you have to go all the way around the long side, a lot extra distance you have to carry, and yeah, he doesn't quite make that work. But he is almost overlapped here, trying to make the move up into Cop's corner, or at least trying to make Taruna think about it and defend for this 5th place. But Stanley's showing a lot more speed so far. And look at this, coming up to Magus Begits. That is an audacious move if he goes around the outside there, which would turn into the inside, but no, I think he's just trying to force Taruna into a mistake. Good exit there. Really good exit actually. He's not quite in the slipstream, but he might get just enough to force Taruna have to be in an awkward line. Or is he going to all the way around the outside? That's going to be an amazing move. He can hold that around the outside. Tiny bit of contact, but that is an awesome move there by Stanley. Went around the outside completely of Taruna, up into 5th place. Good job from him.
Yeah, very ballsy move there, but it made it work. Great stuff. Once again, apologies from us. Some slight issues with the overlay, but it should all be fixed now. And let's hope the drivers keep giving us some action, because I think it's been going on quite a lot so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, especially when someone like Ferris Stanley drops down, and then obviously a driver with his speed is able to get back up again. Always is very good, as Kenzie still trying to get past Farhan, but not enough just yet for 7th position. Rose dropped off another couple attempts on that last lap as well, so Marlana's doing such a good job out the front at the moment. Ardianza and Rakma not able to do anything just yet, but I believe Stanley might be able to catch them. However, for now, Kenzie is looking at Farhan. So close in left field corner. Gonna have to work his way out now onto the old start finish straight. Fine, they're going a little bit wide, so this is going to give Kenzie an opportunity. Coming towards the end of Sector 2. Can he stay close enough to get a good slipstream up the back straight? But he's done a good line. Farhan's got a little bit wide. This could be the move for Kenzie. He's got the overspeed. He didn't really sit in the slipstream initially, so this might be a little bit difficult. Move to the outside. Can he go around the outside like we saw Stanley did on Taruna? No, not quite far enough alongside. All over that inside curve as well.
To the chicane, a bit too far back. But yeah, Kenzie really struggling, and Fadan doing a great job on the defense here. As we're getting closer to that halfway mark of this race already. And Sisvoyo still struggling to stick with Marlana for now.
Sisvoyo caught up by a couple of attempts on that last lap, but certainly Marlana at the front is looking very, very strong indeed. Marlana's obviously slightly behind in the championship at the moment by 4 points, so if it finishes the way that it does, that will be 1 point in the lead.
Once again, Kenzie not able to do anything on the Hangar Straight. Or sorry, the Wellington Straight. If he can stick close through Cops and the rest of the second sector, might be able to do something on the Hangar Straight. Bit of a mistake from Farhan there. That might allow Kenzie to close in here. This is not really a place where you want to go side by side by. We've seen it in the amateur race almost go very wrong. And it cost one driver a second place. Of course, this is not for podium position, but still, good points here in 7th place. And Kenzie really close here on the exit of Chapel. Surely he will be able to get alongside down the Hangar Straight and might be able to make the move around the outside of Stowe. He's going to have to stick it, but backs out of that for now.
Yeah, that battle is getting very close indeed. As we're already making our way towards the halfway point in this race, getting towards the end of the first 20 minutes. And we completed 9 laps. We might be looking at maybe a 19 lap race. Who knows? We'll see exactly when we get towards that point of the race. Kenzie now looking so close on the back of Farhan. Coming out into turn 3. Farhan's defending on the inside. Kenzie's going to have to try and go offline to make this work.
Too far back once again. The top speed is just not there for Kenzie at the moment. I think a bit further down, P12 is also quite a fierce battle at the moment. But nobody going for a move there at the moment. Fikri Aska in 13th, very close to Fikri Segair in front of him.
Yes, Segair doing pretty good there. Not too bad indeed, in 12th place. Started outside the points, I believe. But can now Kenzie do something about this overtake? He's been stuck there for a little while now. Now coming on to back straight. Actually dropped off a little bit on this lap. He's going to struggle a little bit, so it seems he doesn't quite have the pace to make an easy overtake. He's going to have to try something a little bit more extreme, maybe. As we're seeing this battle once again for 12th place. And 13th Angwin and Fikri Azka all moving around on the straight, trying to get slipstream or take it away from each other. Now come into the final chicane there, looking like they're going to stay in line just for now. They're certainly very close. Obviously, points go down to 15th, so this is still for some points. And that is what really counts at the end of the day.
Yellow in sector 1.
Alif. He did this last week in Malaysia as well. He's a lap down, but when he's letting everyone through, he kind of goes completely off the track rather than just pulling off to the side. As we now see a battle for 9th place. Iskander and Faiz Ryan going side by side. Iskander leading the way in that battle, but they're side by side of Brooklands. Faiz Ryan been trying to get past for a little bit as well. Just like Kenzie, he has struggled to get past a little bit so far. He still has 17 minutes left to do so. As we're seeing a couple little duos forming. A couple little battles. We've also got a 3rd and 4th getting quite close to each other as well. Though Iskander went off there. Just so I look away. Iskander goes off and Faiz Ryan is through for that 9th place. And Iskander now down to 10th and is going to have to make up that second or so that he lost there. As we're now seeing Kenzie trying to get past Farhan in Stoke Corner as well. There are plenty of battles going along here.
Yeah, battle for the podium. It's gonna get heated. I think Rahmat and Ardiansa very close to each other. And I think Rahmat just has the pace advantage over Ardiansa. But is he gonna have the top speed to get past him? Perhaps here down the Wellington Straight. Needs to be close though to get the slipstream from that mint-ish color car in front of him. Fluorescent green, perhaps. Something like that. But Rahmat a little bit too far there.
So what, Kenzie's pretty close on this lap. Can he go to the outside of Brooklyn? So it's going to be a quite dangerous move around the outside. He was so close there in the slipstream, but couldn't get quite close enough to be confident of the dive. There has to stay behind just for now. And yeah, Rakamat looking pretty good for this third place potentially as well. A few battles going up and down the points as Kenzie's getting very close. Once again, coming through Cop's corner. Now through the S's section. Can he get close enough? He's certainly very close. If he can keep it to this apex, going to be right in the slipstream. This is going to be a very good opportunity. A little bit too close to get the slipstream now, unfortunately, but if he can send this around the outside like we saw Stanley do earlier on, this could work for him, although he's a little bit behind. And yeah, he didn't quite make that work. He was almost too close to get the slipstream. A bit hard to judge how far away you need to be now. Kenzie's looking towards the final chicane as we come into the final 14 minutes of the race now. Can Kenzie get anywhere close
really
enough?
On the bumper there. Pretty much pushing Farhan. He's gonna try the same side of turn 1. That's a brave move, but decides to back out of it. Bit of a mistake there from Farhan though. Is that gonna allow Kenzie up the inside here? No.
In a move for third place. Rakamat maybe down the inside. Yeah, Rakamat down the inside for third place. Can he keep his stick stuck on the apex? Yes, he can. Rakamat with a nice slipstream and out-braking manoeuvre there for third place. This is allowing for Stanley to get involved just behind as well. So Rakamat up into third. Ardianza has been pushed off the podium and might be under threat from Stanley in the next couple of laps as well. So needs to try and stay on the back of Rakamat for third place. This would be Rakamat's highest finishing position so far. I believe 4th is his personal best this season. This would be a 1 place improvement from him. Also now seeing Farhan go really wide in the S's. This could give Kenzie the opportunity coming out onto the back straight. Farhan's all offline. Can Kenzie get the overspeed? Once again, it seems like he just got almost too close. But can he keep it down the inside now? The inside is crucial. He's going to have to go big on the brakes to try and get his car length alongside. Or has Farhan got enough top speed to defend? Or they go side by side into the apex of Stowe Corner. Maybe a tiny bit of contact there. As Kenzie now side by side into the final chicane. Can he do it on the brakes like some other people have round the outside? No, he's just lost out again. Been so frustrating for Kenzie. Just not enough speed to make an overtake. And he's going to have to sit behind there, but once again he's getting very close coming up to turn 1. But turn 1 is not where you want to make an overtake. That is proper risky. Being such a fast kink. And he's going to have to stay behind there for another little bit, though he's just hit the grass. Kenzie now once again on the outside. Going to have to do something crazy on the brakes. And then maybe a nice switch back and get the slipstream like Rakamat did just 1 lap ago. Let's see what he can do. Maybe up the inside. That would be unbelievable up the inside of the kink. This could give him the overspeed that he needs down. Oh no, just had to back out of it and get back in the slipstream. Very good on the brakes, getting so close, but not quite enough to make the overtake just yet.
Yeah, great battle and absolute masterclass, I would almost say, from defending from Tubagas Farhan.
So Stanley's just got up into 4th place as well, got past Ardianza. Ardianza must have had a bad exit out of Luffield because Stanley, we really haven't seen any overtakes there. Got the slipstream into Cop's corner and has made that work. So Stanley was down in 8th, he's up into 4th place. Ardianza moves down with only 10 and a bit minutes to go. That is looking good for him. But can Kenzie now stay close enough again? is he going to struggle? Just on a side note, Siswoyo's lead is now over 4 seconds from Siswoyo. Sorry, Maulana's lead is over 4 seconds from Siswoyo now, so he's looking very good at the front. But can Stanley get the slipstream? Can Kenzie, I should say, get the slipstream down into Stowe corner? Gonna have to go brave around the outside, maybe get a bit of a switchback. Almost worked, but he got blocked off there nicely by Farhan, put his car in the perfect position. As we now come to the final chicane. Kenzie's been trying so hard. Oh, this could be a good switchback actually. Can he get himself down the inside of the final corner? Not quite. And once again, he's going to have to try and sort out turn 1 and 2 just enough that he gets the overspeed down into turn 3.
On the outside there almost, tries to do the switchback. Outside of turn 3 will be the inside of turn 4 if you can keep it alongside. But it's just a little bit too far back, I think. Which is the power there up the inside. Now that gap is going to close. Still is the inside now though, side by side. To turn 5. I think this is the best chance he's had so far. Down the Wellington Straight, still side by side. Ferro Stanley is also battling in front with Fadili Rahmat. Still, I think, as this time, I think Kenzie's definitely gotten the position. Finally, after pretty much battling for the entire race, he has moved himself up to 7th position.
Was Farhan goes a little bit wide there. That pretty much confirms that battle. Kenzie up into 7th. However, Stanley's charge continues into potentially into 3rd place as he's all over the back of Rahmat. Now this shows you just what could Stanley have done if he could have been qualified a little bit higher. Who knows, but he might be able to get himself on the podium. Slipstreaming up towards Stowe corner. Car number 5, the light blue car on the inside, not quite close enough to make the overtake in this corner. However, he might be able to get a good run into the final chicane. Look how close he is. Going to switch to the left. No, he's going to stay there for now. Oh, a little bit of a bump there on Rahmat into the final chicane. As now Siswoyo's lead going to be around 5 seconds at the front. What a job he is doing. Sorry, Maulana keeps getting those two mixed up, but Stanley in 4th place. Can he get close enough to make this overtake? Oh, big send there on the brakes to try and close up. Maybe get a bit of a switchback here, as we've seen so many drivers do. This means he'll get a nice slipstream out of this corner, all the way down, easily flat out through the kick of turn 5. This could be a good opportunity for him. Although, might just get there a little bit too late. Unless he's going to properly send it on the brakes. He's thinking about it. But Rahmat defended really nicely there.
Yeah, but you can see that pressure from Stanley is starting to build on Rahmat. And at some point, either Stanley is going to get past or Rahmat is going to make a mistake. So much pressure from Stanley now. Having a look up the inside of Kopsov. Is he gonna make the move there? He's going to try. Alongside there. Not really able to make it stick. But that's a very bold move. And has to back out of it now, coming into Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. But Stanley, once again, really putting the pressure full on Rahmat here.
And that was a very, very good exit indeed. Can he get himself with the overspeed to the inside? Yes, he can. And he's still just accelerating a little bit. This might be the opportunity for Stanley to get 3rd place. But Rahmat all the way around the outside. There's going to be a bit of contact there, a little bit of pushing. But not too bad as they give each other space on the exit. Who's going to be big enough on the brakes to take this 3rd position? Completely side by side into the final chicane. But Stanley, I think it's just about make that stick, because Rahmat isn't going to have any answer on the exit. As Ardianza is getting close into the final chicane as well. So this might not be over for 4th place either, but Stanley gets himself on the podium there with only 5 minutes to go. Good comeback from him, but can he hold it, or is Ragnar going to come back at him? He is certainly close enough to at least think about it.
Yeah, Rachmat will have the slipstream once again now, of course, coming into Brooklands.
I don't know if they're going to be quite close enough on the slipstream on this lap, which they aren't. So Stanley holds on to that 3rd place for now, but there's been some battling. A bit lower down. Fazran is up into 8th place. Farhan has gone down to 9th, and the Scander's getting quite close to him as well. And also on scene we've seen Arik and Sega for 11th and 12th place battling out. So still loads of places, even with just 4 minutes to go on the clock. These guys have been doing so good, and oh, we've actually had someone run out of fuel. Abdurrahman has run out of fuel with quite a few laps to go, or is now Sega trying to get the switchback potentially into Luffield. He might get the undercut here, get his car alongside. No, Eric defends that nicely. A good job from him there, keeping that 11th place. So that'll be, I believe, 6 points for 11th place. But now we're looking back at this battle for 3rd place. And potentially even 4th if Ardianza can get involved, although he's just a little bit behind. As we come to start the penultimate lap of the race, we're going to have a 19-lap race here, as it's just about time for 2 more laps. Maulana is leading by almost 5 seconds at the last split. This is where has had nothing to battle him with today. As yet, 4.8 seconds at the line. And yeah, what could Ferris Stanley have done? Because considering how low down he was, and he's only 9 seconds off the lead now, he might have been able to challenge as well if he could have not dropped down at the beginning of the race. But 3rd place would still be fairly decent for him. Obviously the overall championship is where you get the prize, so that would confirm him being still being in 3rd place as we get to the halfway point of the season after this race.
Battle for 11th also still very close. Arik and Seger. Arik goes a bit wide. Ooh, a bit of contact there. Seger tried to go around the outside. Arik didn't want to have any of that and bumped him a little bit there. Seger is now gonna have the slipstream, but will he be able to go up the inside here? He's just a little bit too far, lost a bit too much momentum in that slight contact that they had there. He's gonna try it around the outside. That's not going to work. Seger up to 11th there on the inside. They've tried to keep it around the outside, but not really gonna work. And Seger moving himself up to 11th there, even after a slight bit of contact was made earlier on in the lap.
These guys getting close now as we come to 1 minute to go. And Maulana will cross the line, so there will be 1 lap to go. So it is going to be a 19-lap race for these guys, and he's got a comfortable 5 seconds lead to as well. But this battle is not over for 4th place. I have a feeling on this final lap there could still be a couple of moves. Also Farhan and Iskander for 8th and 9th place might be moved on to the final lap as well. There's still plenty to play for as we come into the final lap of this 3rd race of the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, brought to you by HM Engineering and Honda Prospect Motor. Was Rakamat there's made a bit of a mistake for 4th place as the time runs out, so this is definitely the final lap. Ardianza was looking pretty close there in Luffield, but he couldn't make it work as now Farhan's trying to battle with Iskander into Brooklands and now into Luffield as well, although I don't know if they're going to be quite close enough just yet. Actually, yeah, Iskander's going to get up the inside of Luffield corner. And, yeah, Farhan has been pushed out wide a little bit there. What is going to happen? 4th place has become on 2. The back straight for these guys. Maulana leading the way comfortably, but who's going to get 4th place? Is it going to be Rakamat or is it going to be Ardianza? That is really the big question left. Does Ardianza have anything to come back at him with? I am not sure he does. However, Maulana coming out of the final corner. Comfortable victory like it was a couple of races ago in Japan, and he takes another win to put himself at the top of the standings. So well done to Maulana. After 41 minutes, takes victory in the 3rd race of the season. Siswayo comes across the line in 2nd place. I think he'll be slightly disappointed with the gap to Maulana. Stanley gets a good comeback to 3rd. Rakamat in 4th. Ardianza in 5th place. Good result from him as he struggled in the first 2 races. Taruna, nice calm race there in 6th. Kenzie, after finally overtaking Farhan a few laps ago, gets 7th. Fazran in 8th. Iskander gets 9th ahead of Farhan on that final lap. Then after that, we have Sagir on his debut getting 11th place from Arik. Arik couldn't get past him, but we see an overtake here in the final corner. Stephen and Fikri Azka going side by side. Who's going to come out on top as they come to the line? It's a bit of a drag race, but it's going to be Fikri Azka who gets 13th place. Nicholas Stephen in 14th, and Kevin Angwin will get the final point. But Felix, that race was pretty much all about Maulana, and once again being so dominant in this Honda Civic.
Yeah, once again a very dominant race by Maulana, and definitely favored for the championship here. And also definitely the leader of the championship, of course, pending penalties, but I don't see any reason why Maulana would get a penalty. Siswayo, still good to finish in 2nd place, but not really able to challenge Maulana for the win today. And Ferris Stanley, after a mediocre qualifying, able to fight himself back up to the podium, and finishing in 3rd is a very good result by him, I would say.
Certainly is, considering where he was. But these 3 are they've been on the podium each race we've had so far, so in a slightly different order each time. But yeah, these 3 are certainly the best drivers that we've got in the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, and arguably in the whole of Indonesia as well. So that is a very good job from these guys to be on the podium 3 races in a row. And after all of that, there's only 1 point between Siswayo and Maulana as we reach the halfway point in the season. There will only be 1 point apart, so it's going to be so close as we head towards the final 3 races of the season. And as you see on screen, confirmation of the full top 10 result. So awesome job for these guys. And going on to 2nd place once again, Michael Christian is 16th place, does not get a point. He's been 16th place every race so far, so he does not get a point to his name. But yeah, not too bad from him. And obviously on the last page, we had 6 DNFs from the race in the end, unfortunately. Hopefully we can see a little bit better attrition when we get to the next race, which will be in Sao Paulo, Brazil on the 15th of August. So 2 weeks' time. And